Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here, and in today's video, I'm talking all about food when it comes to prepping. So, if you like any of this information, if you find any of this helpful throughout the video, I would appreciate it if you leave a like. Maybe if a standard I have isn't up to your standards, you can put it down in the comments, get a discussion going, and with that, let's get into it. As the video goes along, I will pause it, show some stuff. The board, I've got my trusty marker that I'll etch out some stuff, just kind of keep me on track. But to start out with, prepping, food is in the top 5 most important things. Security, food, water, shelter, and then the 5th item I'd put in there is hope. They don't get ranked at a certain level unless you're going off of the rules of 3. 3 seconds without hope, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, 3 hours without shelter. 3 days without water, 3 days without food. So to begin with, on the far left, I threw in 2,000 calories. That is the base minimum calories a day I believe you should eat. That's what the standard, every packaging, on the bottom, they always say, based off of a 2,000 calories a day diet. I would consider that emergency rations when it comes to prepping. I put 3,000 for an adult and 2,500 for kids. When I say kids, anyone under the age of like 15 or 16. In kids, you could also group in elderly, like 60 plus. But right now, it is very easy for us to make food. You can cook it at home. You drive to a drive-thru, you get your food that way. It's fast. You're not putting in a lot of caloric work to intake calories. You're going to be stressed in a prepping situation. You could, depending on your food supplies, whether they run out soon or they're supplies for a reason, and you're constantly hunting, gathering, farming, you're going to find out that can of refried beans I have up there, while it costs $1.50 at the store and maybe 100 calories to get it, having to farm, harvest, go through the whole process of the beans, you're going to spend so much more time calorie-wise. So 2,000 calories, that's emergency rations right there. So that moves us into the next thing right below it. 1 month, question mark, 2, 3, 36, how much? As a prepper, there's, the perfect answer is enough food for everyone in your household for the rest of your life. Even then, it's not a perfect answer because you probably plan on having kids, grid down, SHTF, a hurricane. Life will continue to go on. You could pick up friends or family that wasn't part of your plan. Truth be told, it can be the same thing about how much ammo you need, how many guns you have, how much water you have stored up. The saying is, it's never enough. But I believe 1 month is a solid starting off point when it comes to stockpiling, storing up, creating a pantry. You can go even lower than that and say you're just creating your go bag, your grab bag, whatever you want to call it. And that's a 3 days, 72-hour bag. If you want to think about this at that small of a scale. So 1 month is a solid number to have. 36 is better than 1 month. 3 months is better than 1 month. 3 months is better than 2 months. Whatever you can put away, make it part of your budget, is better than nothing. I hear it said all the time that we're on the just-in-time delivery system. Stores only have enough stuff for 3 days and they'd run out. As a prepper, you don't want to be the person that has to run to the store. Maybe to grab a couple more things and blend in with your environment, but you want to be confident on what you've put away to be able to take care of you, your family, your loved ones, that sort of thing. So, like I said, 1 month, solid. I think that's a good starting point for anyone getting into this. So, next thing I'm going to talk about is your food storage. You've amassed this massive amount of food. What are you going to do with it? It can be canned goods, like that can of beans I have sitting up there. It's in a storage container, sealed can. It's got an expiration date. I will post down below how far you can stretch expiration dates. Because as a prepper, if you didn't know this or if you're brand new to this, expiration dates are put on items now as a freshness, as a best by date, not as the day after. Say that can of beans is November 2021 and it's like November 1st. Well, November 2nd, that can of beans isn't going to be toxic and as soon as you take a bite, it's going to kill you. All that means is the taste quality after that, they cannot guarantee. It's also a marketing thing. That's how they get you to throw out old stuff and buy more of their stuff if you didn't use it. Same thing with the jar of peanut butter. It's in a container, expiration date, all that. Far left side of the screen, I've got some freeze-dried food. It comes in a pre-sealed container. Its expiration date. Same thing with an MRE, already inside of a sealed package. But I have stuff in my prepping closet that I'll show you next. Alright, so excuse the mess, rearranging stuff. So the first way I store a lot of my items is inside mason jars. We've just got some trail mix, empty container, got some pinto beans back there. These are pint-sized jars. Over here we have the half gallon. We got rice in these, more pinto beans back there. It's 3 deep, almost 3 across. And so I might be jumping ahead of myself, but what I did to make sure this rice will stay good indefinitely, at least 30 years, is so the containers were clean, they were boiled, air dried, nothing wrong there. Rice was left in a freezer for a week. I read online it takes 3 to 5 days to freeze and kill all the microorganisms, the bugs, eggs, and everything. These jars, I filled up the rice, I would say 5 years ago. And there was a 9th one right here. We didn't have any rice in the pantry downstairs, and I didn't want to go anywhere. So we ate it the other day. Tasted just fine. The mason jars can be reused. The only thing you want to have more of is not the lid. Honestly, I don't even know what this part of the can is called. I'm drawing a blank right now. But anyway, this is a way you can store your food. And then the next, I have 1 Mylar bag left. These are 5-gallon bags. I will say in the future, I'm going to use the 1 gallon. Just so that it portions out a little better. I might even use half-gallon bags. But down below here, I have 5-gallon buckets. They're not food grade, but I don't think I'll have an issue with that. I have 8 of them down here, and they're labeled on the sides. And 6 of these is rice. They hold roughly 36 pounds. Inside, see if we can crack a lid. Mylar bag, heat sealed, oxygen absorbers. That's another way to store your food. At least 30-year shelf life. I would say, if not longer. So 2 of these are rice, or 6 of these are rice, 1's pinto beans, and 1 is oatmeal. I'm about to have to go buy more buckets and stuff because I've added 2 more bags of rice and a 25-pound bag of sugar that I need to get Mylar'd up. And then the other thing I need to get Mylar'd up, if you can't see it inside this tote, is dehydrated milk. And then I just have, other things inside this tote. More pinto beans I gotta get bagged up or canned up. But other ways to store your food other than leaving them inside cans, or their jars or containers or whatever. So, we'll get back to the whiteboard and I'll explain some more. Alright, so next thing on the list I'm going to talk about is I wrote cheap up there. I drew a blank for a minute. And then I realized it's not just cheap. I should have just wrote pricing and stuff, kind of like what I have on the far right side. And so, I'm a senior in college. I started vaguely doing prepping stuff when I was in high school. And the higher my income has gotten, the more I've been able to put into prepping and, retirement and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, older you get, more experience you get, the more money you can put into stuff. So this can apply for anyone. But partially the targeted audience is, people my age. So, you just saw the closet. It looks like a ton of food. But last time I did a caloric count, if we're going off the 3,000 calories a day, it's roughly 14 months worth of food. Not including the prepper style pantry we have downstairs, which I'll show that in another video. The only thing I'll say that is your everyday work pantry should be anywhere from 1 to 3 months worth of food. So, moving on, these guys right here, meals ready to eat MRE, about $12 a piece. I am in the military, and so I get tired of eating those quite a bit. I don't use everything inside of them. Sometimes I don't even eat all of them. Most of the ones I have in my preps were issued, didn't eat everything, or I even resealed them. Where, I have one in my closet. It's chock full of all the desserts, sealed it up, wrote dessert on the back of it, and I'm perfectly happy with that. The Mountain House meal you see up there, biscuits and gravy, $6.94 at Walmart. You get bigger containers, like their number 10 cans. It gets a little bit, they're more expensive, but, dollar cost averaging per ounce, it's cheaper to do it that way. Ramen, super easy to get. We rotate it often because we eat it a lot. One box of the 12-pack of ramen, I believe, was $3, $2.74, something like that. Pretty cheap item. I have some prices up there. Those are the ones, I went to Sam's a couple days ago, and I remember those off the top of my head. A 50-pound bag of rice was $17.63. Before the pandemic, it was $16.50 something. So it hasn't gone up very much. That 50-pound bag of rice will last you quite a long time. I don't remember the exact calories inside of one bag off the top of my head. Beans were in the $20 range before, February. They've gone up significantly, but stored properly, minimum of 30-year shelf life. A lot of the canned goods that I have, you go to the store, you get your weekly shopping done. We do shopping every 2 weeks. We put $10 to $15 more into canned goods than we originally were. A month goes by, that's $40 to $60 worth of extra food, and that's what slowly builds you your prepping pantry that you have downstairs, that stuff constantly gets rotated through. The way I've got it set up, especially with some of the items in here, the newest items that get bought, they get thrown in the back. We're using the oldest items first, and that's how we make sure everything's constantly rotated. So on the cheap side, ramen, rice, and beans, you're mostly set. Calorie-wise, you're fine. You're going to be missing a handful of your micros or your micronutrients. You'll have most of your, macro. On the more expensive side, Mountain House, MREs, the easy meals ready to eat, that kind of thing. Those are going to be your more expensive. They're going to last quite a bit longer. MRE's got a 5 to 8 year shelf life. I can't guarantee this, but I have seen videos of preppers and other people talk about eating MREs 10, 15 years past when they were packaged. My dad did not get sick when he ate a 30-year-old MRE. So, as long as stuff passes the look, doesn't have mold, anything wrong with it, a smell test, and then when you prepare it, it tastes all right, you should be fine, but there's no guarantee. That's why MREs get rotated all the time, whereas the Mountain House stuff, rice and beans, I feel a lot safer just having that stuff sitting there, just collecting dust. Occasionally we do rotate out some of it. I got Mountain House the other day. They're packaged for a 30-year shelf life. Most of mine say 2050, 2051. I got one the other day. I picked up like 6 packages and it said 2042. So it was definitely an older product that they had. Probably missed a box somewhere, whatever. Ate it, loved it. Remembered why eating freeze-dried food when I went to Philmont was fun. Something that I honestly completely just thought about is when you're putting away food stuff. Matter of fact, I'm going to write it down so as I talk about it, y'all be good. All right. Handwriting is terrible. I wrote taste. That's important. All this stuff that you're putting away should be something that you either eat normally, regular basis, or at least make sure it's something that you like. For instance, I've had most of the Mountain House foods. The Mountain House spaghetti and meatballs is probably one of the worst things I've ever tasted. I have 2 of them in my closet because one day I bought all the ones that they had in the camping section, including those 2. It'll probably be the last meal I eat if I ever have to get into this stuff. So buy foods that you will eat. Mix things up, have spices, have ways to season what you're eating. If you're eating rice and beans for 9 months, you're going to get tired of rice and beans and you're going to hate eating. And then you're going to eat less and less and you won't hit your minimum emergency caloric intake, let alone a workable caloric intake. So, I did mention rice and beans earlier. Tuna, pasta, oats. I've talked about MREs and freeze-dried food. All of those are good foods to put away. I didn't talk about every food. Peanut butter is really high in calories, got fat, a little bit of protein. It's good to have. Vienna sausages. That's another thing to add to your list. Basically, any food that has a decent shelf life that you can rotate through are good foods to have as a prepper. All right, so now we're moving on to OPSEC, which is your operational security. And no, I'm not talking about that kind of operational security. Not really. In the food world, some things are better to have than others. Let me rotate it just a little bit. All right. So, for food, having smells is part of your operational security. I've talked about it in the past where if you have power and no one else does, they'll see lights, they will hear music, and that will let people know that you have something that they don't and they might want it. So if you plan on barbecuing your way through the apocalypse, that's going to let off smells, not only of smoke, it's going to let off food smells, it's going to let off, light and heat. And so when it comes to your food preps, making ramen, boiling water, if you're not using a butane stove or a propane stove, then that's something to be cautious of. Even your mountain house, you have to boil water to heat that up. Kind of goes along the line with the ramens. That's kind of where MREs beat out most other things. Certain canned foods that you don't have to heat up, like tuna, your peanut butter, Vienna sausages, stuff like that, could mean the difference of people figuring out you have food or not. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're obviously behind a giant wall with a huge castle, you just have to defend the castle. But if you're in the suburbs and you're on your back patio, cooking the canned chicken you have, you might attract attention. That also brings me to another small point past operational security, kind of into the other category, and that is if you're using a fireplace, a propane, butane stove or whatever, and you're trying to be safe, you're inside your house, make sure it's ventilated, and if at all possible, have your smoke detectors and even your carbon monoxide detectors up and running. So that does move us into one of the last categories, and that is going to be the other category. So back in the closet talking about the other category, I had this showcase in the video the whole time. Got some fuel for it back here, but a lot of your foods you're going to have to prepare, which means cooking. This, how I was talking about earlier, you want 3,000 calories a day because that's your working calories. I don't have to work to make this heat my food up. If I'm using wood, you're going to have to gather the wood, you're going to have to cut it, chop it, store it so it doesn't rot, and that uses calories. Not only are you going, this is not the only part for preparing food, but a lot of your prepping stuff, whether it's freeze-dried, ramen, stuff like that, requires water. These two guys purchased the other day. Ran them through with bleach, and I'll get them filled up here soon. So, water is an important part of prepping, not just for the drinking and hygiene part, but food preparation. So, just keep that in mind when you are prepping. You can have, this is the small drawer that I have of Mountain House stuff with me, and I know I have enough water in this closet to cook it all. I haven't done math recently. I don't know if I have enough water in this closet to drink and do hygiene and cook it all. And if your preps are slowly based off of freeze-dried food or MREs, you're going to use a bit more water than some other people. Alright, so we're at the end of the video. If you couldn't tell, I've marked out everything I have on the board. I could have missed something. I take very few notes when I write these or record these. So let me know in the comment section whether you agree with this, whether you're brand new to prepping and you liked this information, you learned something. New video ideas, new suggestions. As of right now, I kind of have a short list of videos that I want to do. And I always try to make sure I have 5 on the list. So help a brother out. Help me plan my next video. And I will be doing some sort of giveaway in the future. I don't know what yet. That's another suggestion you can give me. So that's the end of the video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Stay safe, everyone.